Welcome to EMG Transformations with Dan Stoll. Each episode will empower you to ignite your inner fire and provide methods to maximize your mental and physical performance. Buckle up and get ready to spark your transformation with Nova Fusion.
3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Welcome to today's episode of EMG Transformations with the dynamic and charismatic Craig Siegel. Craig is a born and raised New Yorker with an entrepreneurial spirit and wolf-like hunger as he worked on Wall Street for over a decade, ran numerous marathons, and became a trailblazer and master of reinvention. In 2020, he started fresh with his brand CLS, Cultivating Lasting Symphony, and is now a global thought leader, international keynote speaker, author, and soon-to-be husband. Craig has been a true friend and mentor to me over the past couple of years. I'm beyond grateful to absorb his wisdom and energy every week. He's made a massive impact on my life, and I'm honored to host this transcending conversation. Thank you for carving out time to be here with us today.
Oh my goodness, transcending. That's what it feels like to be on the other side of an iconic introduction. Thank you so much for the beautiful words. There's no place in the world that I would rather be right now than here with you and just transferring some energy and having an unbelievable conversation. Let's have some fun. Let's get nuts, Dan. You know how much I love you.
Yeah, man. Appreciate you, man. And let's get nuts, like you just said. This is EMG Transformations. So let's just dive straight into that moment when you sparked your transformation by applying the principles in your new book, The Reinvention Formula.
Yeah. So I had been miserable for quite a long time when I was on Wall Street, specifically near the end. And I was looking for something else. I knew, just like all of us, that I was here for something much more, but I wasn't able to put it together. And I wasn't really in that frequency where I was available. And that's on me. I take full accountability for that. But then running found me. And I'm confident now that it found me, not the other way around. And I started running a bunch of marathons. And this was so important and so pivotal. And for your listeners, I encourage everybody to have something that's not necessarily a part of your career, but it's that outlet for you to be a gladiator in and really do some hard things. For me, that was the marathon circuit. And I started to really get some confidence, do some hard things and find myself, and also do my best connecting with God. But ultimately, I was still at my job, if you will, even though I was a business owner. That's what it felt like, a job. I was looking forward to the weekends, all that stuff. But then the pandemic happened. And, people call this a global awakening, and it was. I look at this as the big separator. I had a spiritual awakening, and I just looked at this as an historic opportunity. For me personally, as a business owner, specifically in Wall Street, for the first time in my adult life, I didn't have an organized schedule. And so I got really quiet and I observed, and I refused to be a part of the ones watching Tiger King and drinking a bottle of wine every day. And so I got quiet, I connected, and I really blocked out that interference, that noise, if you will. And that's when I discovered that mindfulness was a portal to expansion. And I had that spiritual awakening. I started getting the downloads. And I married my passion/purpose of personal development with my God-given gift to communicate effectively. And that's when I created the formula, the reinvention formula, if you will, to put it all together, build a personal brand, hit the ground running, and never look back.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. Your transformation in such a short amount of time has been really impactful and eye-opening. And I'm curious, you mentioned some of that interference. What was some of that early hesitation or interference that you had to struggle with and overcome early on when you started?
Just negativity, being a gladiator in the wrong arena, so to speak, and just not being in alignment, for lack of better words. And I was a gladiator in the wrong arena, in the wrong relationships for a very long time. And when I got quiet in the beginning of the lockdown, I was able to just distance myself from all that BS, if you will, and really just connect and begin to cultivate some clarity. And it's very well documented. I did this eulogy exercise where I pictured, if this was it for me, what would that look like? And it occurred to me that if this was it for me in this human experience, I did not leave an important legacy. I did not make a ton of wealth. I did not have the best relationships, and I didn't really make an impact or contribution. And that realization basically hit me in the throat like a set of nunchucks. And I said, that's not okay. I'm aware of it. I forgive myself. I'm not where I hoped I'd been. And now all that matters is what I do next. And that's when I started creating this strategy to create a list of everything that I love and a separate list of all the things that I'm good at, skill sets, superpowers, if you will. And I began to collect some data, form some common ground. And that's when the idea of the origin story, if you will, of CLS began to come to me. And for the first time, honestly, in my life, 35 years at that point, I had true clarity, and I felt pulled and called that this was in alignment for me. And then I considered going back. And as I like to say, the COI, the cost of inaction, was so high, I associated death with that, that all of a sudden, the scariness or the unpredictability, if you will, of stepping into the unknown, which I get asked all the time, and I think it plagues a lot of people, that transformed into excitement because I was not going back to a worst case scenario. And so I leaned in.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so powerful. And I was actually going to ask you about that eulogy exercise because I have a follow-up question to kind of how you're feeling now with what you've been able to accomplish. So from an outsider's perspective, real quick, like you've made a massive impact, and, you know, even on my life, you've really helped guide me over these past couple of years. And so first off, thank you for having the courage to really step out into the real Craig, because that takes a certain amount of courage to pull that off and not go back to that people pleasing and just that mindset. And secondly, like your book, The Reinvention Formula, and your podcast, even up to this point, the CLS Experience, millions of downloads. Do you feel like that kind of solidifies your mission of impact that you had in that eulogy exercise? Because again, from an outsider's perspective, it's like you did it, man.
I would say thank you so much for those beautiful words, and I received them. I could say this: we're just getting warmed up, and we have a lot to do. And I know we have a lot to do because I was protected by a hit and run last summer in a speeding car. So it occurs to me that there's a lot more for us to do. However, based upon what you asked, I would say if I did the eulogy exercise today, and I'd never been asked this, but I think that's what you're getting at.
Yeah.
Would I be okay with the legacy impact contribution in the last 3 years? Yes, I would. I can honestly say I lived life. I put it all out there. I didn't hold anything back. I went for it. I took my shots. And that's a beautiful feeling. And it's almost like essentially we're playing with the house's money now because I finally found my assignment and went all in. But also at the same time is we're barely even getting warmed up. I mean, this is even the appetizer. This is like the bread that they bring over before the menus, or so I hope, so to speak. But yes, the last couple of years, finally, I went all in. As I like to say, it doesn't take time, it just takes alignment. And I can live with the fact that I really loved, opened my heart, and went for it. My career, my love life, all the things. And obviously the impact of contribution. You mentioned downloads and stuff like that. So yeah, you put that in perspective for me, and I thank you for that. And it's a good feeling to know that over the last couple of years, I left no stone unturned.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know you personally and what you do behind the scenes, and you're like a machine. Like, just that's the easiest way to explain it. And, you know, a lot of work has gone into that, but a lot of impact as well. And it's got to be fulfilling to, you know that, you know, you're really helping people and transforming lives out there and reinventing lives, I should say. So, man, just thank you for all of the work that you do. Seriously.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. And kudos to you, right? Because there's obviously a good coach, a good mentor, but there's something as being coachable, and you consume, but you also apply. And we were talking before we went on air just now, and you got your own thing going on. I'm so proud. Feel like a big brother watching you spread your wings and so forth. So both of us are just getting started, but thank you so much for saying it. And you said something earlier, and I think that's interesting. I think you can argue that the most brave or courageous thing you can ever do is to lean in and really be you, authentic, and show up to the world how you were designed to be. And a lot of people get scared to do that because maybe they fear what other people might think. But as I always like to say, you are the vibe. Not even identical twins have the same fingerprints. So it is scary, but it's also the most liberating thing ever once you do lean in.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, we all know what we truly want deep down. Like we all have this calling or this whisper that continues to come back, but having the courage to really listen to that whisper and then take the following action to make that happen, that's where we get stuck. So like, okay, let's just ask about that. Like for people that hear that whisper, what are some things that they can do, obviously, besides just listening and going right after it? Like, how can they lean into that more?
So it's always going to be a whisper. Usually it's the ego or the devil, your opponent will be the loud one.
Yeah.
That's the one that you have to block out the noise and interference. But when you feel that tug, that whisper, that's usually the thing, right? So you got to, number one, be aware and raise the volume of that. And then collect the data, right? Whether it's write down, journal, whiteboard, see what it's saying. And a lot of times it'll happen in the shower or in the middle of the night. And then most people just go back to bed or forget about it. One of the reasons why I say always keep a journal by your bed. If you wake up with an idea, you got to write it down immediately, so forth. So once you hear what that is, you got to explore it. Period. End of story. Why did that come to you? What does it mean? What does it feel like? If you did lean into that, what does that look like? So in a word, explore.
Yeah. Yeah. We're so aligned because I get my best downloads in the shower or when I'm, dazing off into sleep. And that's why I got whiteboards in my room, in my office here, because you never know when that inspired thought is going to hit you. And when it does, you got to take action on it. You got to write that down. You can't forget that. So, and that's like you with CLS. You were on a marathon, you got this idea, and then you just bought a website, right?
That's it. Yeah. And I had a thought that I forgot about. It must have been registered somewhere. GoDaddy.com. You can buy domains. So I was on a run in Central Park and it came to me CLS out of nowhere. And literally I pulled over, got it. And I got to tell you, I was jazzed. Like that, it seems like a small step, but I like to say tiny things have huge impacts. I came home and it became so real for me because I bought this website name to my brand, Cultivating Lasting Symphony. And all of a sudden it had a pulse. There was energy behind it. And that gave me a jolt of momentum. Then it was the logo, then it was creating content. And I literally never looked back. So yes, something as simple as that, leaning in, whatever that looks like for you, you start to give it life and you give it momentum.
Yeah. Literally all of Craig's success right now has come, not all of it, but the new chapter of his life has came from acting on that inspired thought on a run. So just listening to that whisper and taking the action, you don't know what's going to follow after that, but amazing things can come out of that, just like Craig has done. So I hope that all the listeners can really take that and apply it. That would mean the most for me.
Yeah, you got to lean in.
Yeah. So you're obviously a hungry cat. Just by listening to you, we can feel that energy. Your drive and energy is really second to none. Is that something that you were born with, or did you develop it over time?
It's a great question. I had flashes of it, and I talk about this in the book a lot throughout the years, but it was always misplaced, right? Yeah. And for a while, I channeled it to Wall Street. I thought that would be the thing. And it was the thing for a minute, but it wasn't long term. And I had success there. And then I took that and I channeled it towards running and stuff like that. Usually it was like stuff that wasn't super productive, like movies or hobbies and stuff like that. But then I finally put it all together. And people always ask me, like, what are you on? And I'm like, you don't get it. It took me 35 years to really find my calling, my assignment, why I'm here. And so, like, I know Tony Robbins, the Godfather, very grateful for him. He's awesome. But one of the things that he teaches, I believe, is like priming your state. Like when you get up, like to get on fire, you do something. And that's great. But I encourage people to find something where you don't need to prime your state because you're waking up doing a triple backflip into a split out of bed because you can't wait to hit the ground running because you love what you do. And so I finally had flashes of that over the years and then packaged it to in CLS, which is why I'm here, what I'm doing. And I don't need anything. Like I drink a cup of coffee every morning because it's part of my routine and I enjoy it, but I don't need it. I love this stuff and I want that so badly for everybody. And I know it's out there. And I would encourage everybody to never give up searching for what that is for you individually.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always this search. And, if you try one thing, you may course correct and that will lead you closer to the thing that is actually.
Okay. Yeah, try some new things. If it's not the thing, it'll probably be the thing that leads to the thing, but you got to get in the damn arena.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, man. So I'm loving all of this. I know that you are an old, strange soul in the best way possible when I say that. And I could honestly see you thriving in the 1920s and 30s with Napoleon Hill or something. Do you
Okay.
feel the same way with that?
I never thought about that until you hit me with it. But I don't even know exactly what the definition is of an old soul. But I feel like I am one, straight up. And it's funny that you notice that. So yeah, I think that sometimes I feel like going out and stuff like that, that was never really my thing, although I had seasons of it and partying a little bit. But I always felt out of alignment or out of place, like when I would be out and stuff like that. I'm an introvert, and I'm very upfront about that because I think it's good to show people that you don't have to be supremely confident, outgoing, extroverted to do big epic stuff like public speaking, which is apparently the number one fear in America and so forth. So I think I just had this like understanding and a bit of like a seriousness to me, that I guess would qualify maybe a maturity. I don't know, because you could argue I'm immature in some places, but yeah, I think that's me in my DNA. So long-winded answer, I wouldn't put it past that. I think I would have thrived in that era as well.
Yeah. And I gotta say, I forgot to mention that hairpiece is looking extra fire today.
It's somewhat fresh. It's less than 24 hours old, but thank you so much for saying that.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And I say the whole old soul and Napoleon Hill thing because I know you're a huge fan of Think and Grow Rich, basically like your Bible at this point. Oh, you got it with you? Yeah, of
It's
course you
right next to me. And I'll open up one page for you. I know we're talking about our book today, but one line I always go back to is this. It has been said that man can create anything that he can imagine. I probably open up this book and literally just read that sentence twice every single day of my life. I just love it.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm actually reading Outwitting the Devil right now.
Never read it,
Loving
but I
that
heard
one.
great things.
Yeah, it's amazing. And he's talking about the other self in that one and how he received these instructions that really guided him to his success. And you went through this similar spiritual awakening that I'd like to talk about a little bit more back in that 2020 period. What's been really different for you since that awakening? Obviously, finding your path, finding the purpose, and what really lights you up. But internally, what's been different?
I just like for me right now, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. And that means people, places, things, experiences. I just protect my energy for the life of me. And I understand not everybody loves that, but like this, I finally understand why they give that presentation at the beginning of an airplane and a flight, right? You put your oxygen mask on first because you're no good to anybody else if you don't fill up your cup. So that's one thing I'm big on. And just doing things that and talking about things that move the needle and are like growth oriented and that excite me. Like I just don't have much in common with people from the past, Craig, prior to my reinvention. And I want to be very responsible and clear. I do not think I'm better than them. I'm growing so rapidly and I'm spreading. I'm not the same cat I was 3 weeks ago, straight up. And
Yeah.
I just love to talk about growth and personal development and doing big things. And that's what really excites me. And so I think like what you see is what you get. I love this stuff. I'm all about it. It's not a gimmick. This is what I'm about. This is my DNA. And I just love to be around people like you. Like if I'm ever in a rut, it happens. I'm human. One of the things that lights me up the most is our community call. And I just love it. The energy and everybody on the same page, growth, doing big things, inspirational, positive vibes. So I love this stuff. And I just don't have any time or energy allocated anymore for anything unless it's relatively positive. And just to be clear, like my dad's battling cancer. That doesn't mean I don't speak to my dad if he's having a bad day. Of course I do. It's my responsibility to elevate him and so forth. But I don't have time for like mindless side combos and like drama and stuff like that. I don't even want to watch anything that I can't use my brain on. Like my fiance, after a long day of work, she loves to turn on the show The Office. And, I'm always like, again, babe. And she thinks it's funny and that's great. But I usually have like Gladiator or The Dark Knight or something in the background while I'm working all day. I'm not even watching it, but I just see it and it elevates me. So I just want to be tapped into that frequency all the time.
Yeah, it's like hanging up a Michael Jordan jersey or a Kobe Bryant jersey and just having that inspiration on hand at all times. I love that.
That's it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah. So I'm curious, when you look back at all of your experiences and you go to connect all of the dots, what's been one of those biggest lessons that you learned on your journey that you would like to share today?
Which part of the journey? Like recently or like back in the day?
Honestly, anything that really stands out to you right now.
I would say never, ever, ever, ever give up or settle for something when you know there's something much more out there for you. And it's not our opinion, it's our responsibility to do something big with our gifts. Everybody's got gifts, everybody's got skill sets, and we got to identify what those are. And trust me when I tell you, for the audience listening today, that's like, Craig, that sounds great, but I have bills to pay and I need to monetize. I cannot be convinced otherwise. If you're passionate about something and you're all in, you can monetize it because it's just an energetic exchange and it's a byproduct. And I want to be clear, I wouldn't have changed the thing on my journey. I believe everything happened exactly as supposed to, divine timing and divine intervention. And one of the reasons why it exploded and we had so much success in a relatively short amount of time, as most people would say, is because of everything that I went through to get there and all the sharpening the axe, the personal development. And I finally packaged it correctly and put it together. But for anyone else out there, I want you to know it's never too late. You're never too old. Literally, you could start at 75. It doesn't matter. But you know that there's something else out there for you. You got to find out what that is. And you got to at least explore it or try it and see what happens. And you will never regret that. On the flip side, I know so many people that are getting a little bit later now in life, like mid 40s, 50s, and they have a job and they're not fulfilled and they're not happy and they regret that. They're like, oh, I should have went for it. And sometimes I'll say, you still can. And they have this limitation that, oh, I have kids now or it's too late. It's not true. You got to go for it. No matter where you're at in your journey, in your life, you're exactly where you're supposed to be and you can improve. And if you're open minded and you have that mindset, you can literally do anything at any time.
I love that. That's so powerful. And you're truly a testimony of that, that you can restart, you can reinvent yourself. You can go from a job that was just a job and that you didn't like going to every day, and you can find that thing that lights you up and you can step into it. It's not going to be easy. We're not saying that. It takes a lot of work and long hours, but that's more fulfilling than working for someone else and doing something you don't like. You're actually enjoying this. You wake up excited to do this every day. And that's what we want to share with you guys. There's something out there. There's something that's whispering to you right now. And we want to empower you to really step into that.
And also, I want to just add this caveat to that. Like, I've been talking about this a lot lately. I used to hear, and there's a good quote: "When you find what you love, you'll never work a day in your life." And you just mentioned it's not going to be easy, and you're right. Anything really worth doing is not going to be easy. But when you love what you do and you're able to really find that and lean in, it'll never feel like you're working a day in your life. That's the difference. I love this stuff. I know it's available for everybody, and you got to take your shot. And also, when you're going to take some big swings in life, don't be scared to take some big misses, right? And as our good friend Evie like to say, Evie Pomporis in the CLS community, there's a big difference between failing and being a failure. Being a failure is finite. It's done. It's over. You're dead. But as long as you're alive and you continue to fail, that means you're trying and you're gathering data and you're seeing what doesn't work. And eventually you can apply that and be a little bit more resourceful and find that does work. So you got to go for it and you got to keep going for it until you find the thing.
Yeah, so good. And we got to bring Evie back for round two because she was amazing as well.
Yeah.
Got to check out the CLS community if you haven't heard of it. Got to throw that out there. So, man, I'm curious, what is next for you? Because you've been going all in on your book launch this year, rightfully so. And I'm super happy for you, but I'm curious because you're just scratching the surface. Where do you see yourself in 10, 15 years from now? Because you're always playing chess, you're just getting started. And I want to know, like, where is this going?
So I think we just announced that you probably saw we got our TED Talk, right?
Yeah.
That was something that was I always like to be thinking 6 to 12 months ahead. And I was teaching one of my one-on-one clients this today too, because everything is going really great for him. And I want to take a second and be in that moment. But you want to maintain this mentality like you've never arrived. So you should always be thinking, like, for all your listeners right now, even for you, like, what do I want to accomplish in 2024? What would really excite me? What are some of those audacious things that I want to slap in the calendar? We just signed up for the New York City Marathon. Super pumped about that. That's something a little down the road that I'm excited for. The TED Talk, now we got that. What's next, right? Obviously, right now it's all things book launch and stuff like that. But you always want to be planning 10 moves ahead. For us, I'll be honest with you, I'm still figuring things out. All the lanes in the highway are working. But what's really cool is a lot of the opportunities that come our way now aren't things that I saw coming. I think a lot of people just want to be involved, catch the vibe, be a part of the frequency and so forth. And so I'm still figuring things out. But long story short, we want to be the face of personal development. That's what it's always been. So like when I think of technology, I think of Apple, right? Maybe think of basketball, think of Michael Jordan. We want us to be that personal development, not for an ego thing, just so we can touch as many lives as we possibly can, make the biggest contribution and impact. And if you're going to think, you might as well think huge.
I love that. Think big, go for those dreams, and you never know what's going to come into place to make that happen. You don't have to know the how, you just have to take that first step. So I love that. All right, man. To be respectful of your time, we're going to wrap things up here, but this has been incredibly valuable. So thank you so much for joining us today. And now let us know how we can support you. You got your first book, your baby, The Reinvention Formula. It's coming out on August 15th, and I will put the link for that in the show notes below. So very easy to find. But what else do you have going on in your world right now, and how can we get involved?
I would say if you love this inspirational stuff, download the podcast, the CLS Experience. If you're going to listen to another podcast besides Dan's, obviously, it's blowing up. We have such great guests on. We talk about all things that are relatable, rock bottom, bouncing off mindset and stuff like that. If you love inspirational text, we have a texting community, totally free. You can text 917-634-3796. Text the word Juggernaut Dan, so I know that it came from this conversation. And then just catch us on social media at Craig Siegel _CLS. Come say hello. I love to interact. I love to engage. And depending upon when you drop this episode, we're throwing our next live event. The last one was massive. Feedback was over-delivered, life-changing, stuff of that sort. And we're doing it in Beverly Hills for the book launch. Some great people there. You will be there. And that's August 19th in LA, Beverly Hills. So if you'd like some more information about that, feel free to reach out. And like I said, just come say hello. I love to engage, love to interact, and I love to meet great people. And obviously you attract great people as well.
Yeah, appreciate that, man. And I can confirm the CLS events are no joke. They are absolutely life-changing. I was at the one in February, and momentum has seriously picked up for me in my life and my business since that event. And I've made so many connections as well. And it's just been this amazing ripple effect. So if you guys can make it to the event, if you guys can make it to a future event, because I don't see these things slowing down anytime soon, definitely make that investment in yourself to do that. So Craig, thank you for firing us up today and pulling back the curtain on your reinvention. Your courage, passion, and transformation shine hope, and the world is a brighter and better place because of you. I appreciate your support and friendship more than you can imagine. Thank you for joining us today, and prepare yourself for a massive bear hug, because I'm coming for you this time, and I can't wait to see you in LA for your upcoming book launch.
I love you, buddy. Thank you so much. We'll do this again soon too.
Awesome, man. Transform your health and life with the Nova Fusion 21-day Wellness and Resilience Challenge. We're bringing the heat with daily inspiration, education, downloadable resources, and challenges to get and stay on fire. You're not going to want to miss this epic experience with us as we stack massive momentum, develop strong bonds, and create lasting lifestyle changes together. It's time for you to get in the room, ask advice from gladiator guest speakers, realize your untapped potential, and spark your transformation. The insights, the powerful tools, the lessons, The challenges in this program will truly transform your life. I believe in these practices so much that I guarantee results or your money back, so you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. So what are you waiting for? I would love to invite you to our next challenge, where we will discover the world's best wellness and resilience practices for staying mentally and physically fit for a lifetime. It's everything you need to get an unstoppable edge against the competition, and there are limited spots available. Let's spark your transformation together. I'm excited to see you and grow with you on the other side. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of EMG Transformations. You never know how one valuable insight can make such a big impact. Please leave a 5-star review if this episode had a positive impact on you. And don't be shy to screenshot and share episodes on social that you found helpful, so we can spread the message and make the world a better place. You never know who may need to hear and the impact it has on them too. We're only scratching the surface. There's so much more to learn. Subscribe and stick around to manage stress, improve your health, and create lasting lifestyle changes. We'll see you next time on EMG Transformations.